energy is a big deal for a lot of voters this election cycle. A couple weeks ago, I spoke with both major U.S. Senate candidates, and they supported an all-the-above approach to energy. Nuclear, renewable oil and gas. Where do you stand?
Oh, I think we have to look at everything, but hydrogen, we're talking about that. I think we need to look at the nuclear part of things when it comes to creating electricity. So, I've been in the industry for 45 years or so, and with the abundance of oil and natural gas that we have, we're the number one producer, not only in the United States, but Texas rates up there with Saudi Arabia and some of the other Middle East major countries. So we need to utilize that asset in a smart and efficient way.
You've been in public office for over a decade, and you're now running for your fifth term in the House. What motivated you to run for your fifth?
Well, I've actually been in an elected position since 1998 here. 17 years on the Longview City Council, 10 of which I was the mayor. In 2016, I ran for the House seat. The representative at the time was running for the Senate, so a lot of our constituents encouraged me to run to continue to represent them like I did as mayor, and that's why I did it.
And what about this term? Heading into your fifth run, what motivated you to keep it going?
Well, buddy, there's always a lot of work to do. The definition of a representative is somebody that represents the people, the constituents, the 200,000 people that we represent, if you will, that we help with a variety of issues. Like when COVID was here, myself and my district director spent a lot of time with people, helping with their unemployment, helping with their, keeping their electricity on, keeping their gas running. So a representative is the liaison to the state and to the federal government as well for those 200,000 people that live in my district.
From what I remember, reading up in preparation for this interview, you considered becoming a grandfather one of your proudest moments.
Oh yeah, I've gotten to do that 8 times now.
8 times.
So, yeah.
8 times.
Yeah.
How's your family reacting to your run?
Oh, they're fine. They have gotten, like I said, for 17 plus the House side of things for over 20 years. They understand and they love the fact that their father and now their grandfather has always tried hard to help people, and that's what we'll continue to do.
What does that support mean to you?
In what ways?
Just, being able to speak to your family and...
Well, buddy, your family has to be on board because you miss a lot of things. But, again, my goal is to always try to help people. I'm very interested in everybody's quality of life and the things that we do in government to make sure that we enhance and improve everybody's quality of life.
If elected to the 89th legislature, what would be your single biggest priority?
Well, I don't know that there's a single biggest priority. I think we have to continue to work on things that are important to this region of the state. We're a very conservative state. I think we continue to work on property tax reduction and how we keep people in their homes and not be taxed out of their homes. I think we've got to look at other ways to lessen the burden on the school property tax side of our property taxes, and obviously, continue to work on the border security and the immigration problems. Make sure that we continue to properly fund our police and sheriff's departments and first responders to make sure that, again, we protect our citizens. That's our number one thing, is the safety of our people. So those things will not only be in the forefront for the 89th, but it's been in my forefront since. Public education, very, very important issue.
Another issue that's on a lot of voters' minds this election is the economy. What specific initiatives would you like to see done to improve the economy here in District 7?
Well, again, when you start talking about property taxes, you start talking about the border security, you start talking about re-engaging and taking some of the shackles off of our energy industry, those things are gonna help our economy, obviously. I mean, you know, as most people know, the oil and gas industry is the leading industry, not only in Texas, but in the United States. You know, who buys the most vehicles? Who buys all the computers and all the technology? I mean, the oil and gas industry supports just about every state in the United States. When you look at the number of people that are employed by the industry, it's the number one employer, you know, outside of government, excuse me, but it's the largest employer. So we have to make sure that we get out of the way. And you know, one of the neat things, and I've served on state affairs and I serve on, you know, our environmental reg committees, and you know, the thing that the industry has always done is protected the environment. When you look at emissions, et cetera, the industry, without the long arm reach of the federal government, all the crazy regulations, they've reduced emissions by 12% over the last 5 years without government money, by their own investments. So, you know, those things, we've got to get our energy industry. And of course, in this district, this region, the largest employer by far.
You mentioned property taxes there. It's my understanding that you want to rein them in, change them. What caused that to be such an important issue for you?
Well, it's been I don't know if you own your own home yet. Well, you'll see. They have constantly gone up, and there's a variety of reasons why. But the biggest driver in property taxes is the school portion of your property tax bill. It's 70% of your total tax bill is related to school. And of that, 70% of the school property tax bill is related to the M&O, the maintenance and operation cost or tax that's needed to pay for our schools, whether it's paying for the superintendent, the staff, the cafeteria workers, the bus drivers, the coaches, the band director. So that's a huge number. And what we've tried to do the last 2 sessions, we have spent billions of dollars, last session to the tune of about $18 billion, to compress the school portion of that property tax to help relieve the property owners' property taxes. And I think it's important. You put more money in the economy. You want to talk about economy? Save people from putting their money into taxes and leave them that cash in order to spend back into the economy of East Texas.
Your challenger in this race, Marlena Cooper, has cited rural health care as a big issue for her in her campaign. Are there any ways you would like to see rural health care improved?
Well, I'm not familiar with Ms. Cooper and what her background is. I know that she's never been elected to anything, and you know, so what drives her and what her particular issues might be, I have no clue. So everybody's interested in good health care, and I've been involved with that in many different ways.
In any ways you'd like to see it improved if elected?
Well, I mean, I'd like to see the costs go down, obviously. You know, you just look at not only for health care, but look at property, your property insurance and your casualty insurances, your vehicle insurances, and what's happening there. So obviously the biggest thing we've got to do with our health care is find ways to reduce the costs. I mean, you know, our Democrat friends like to use the government to put in, you know, your taxpayer dollars in order to, you know, make it available to everybody, whether they are legal citizens or illegal citizens, and I don't support that.
You mentioned bringing down the cost.
Bring down the cost of insurance.
Bring down the cost of
Yeah.
insurance. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
How? Are there any ways you think you can go about doing that if elected, or working alongside others to?
Well, I mean, we work on various large insurance bills every session, and I've supported them, and I'll continue to support them.
Let's talk about illegal immigration. You sort of alluded to that in your previous answer. How will you go about reducing illegal immigration?
Well, I think first thing we have to do is the next administration has to put back in place, you know, some of the restrictions that were in place under President Donald Trump. The state of Texas, under the leadership of Greg Abbott, will continue to try to keep people from crossing our borders illegally. We've done a great job at that. I've supported every border bill since I've been in Austin. We've spent in the billions of dollars to do the federal government's job. So, we'll continue to do that, but I'm very hopeful that under a new Trump administration that the federal government will go back to doing their job of protecting the border.
Anything that can be done on the state level regarding that, or you feel
Everything
not
that
so
can
much?
be done, we're doing.
What have you done to this point?
Well, I mean, the border protection that we've done. You look at the number of National Guard we have down there. Look at the number of DPS officers we have down there. Look at the technology we've invested in. Look at all of the various type of restrictions we put up, whether it's the razor wire or it's the buoys. It's all the various things that we've done and put in place in order to discourage, people from trying to come into our state, into our country, the wrong way. Go and look at the bills that we've passed to say that if someone comes across illegal, authorities can arrest that person. And they either have the choice of going back across the legal entryway of the bridge. They choose not to, they go to jail. And we've got to discourage people from going about it the wrong way. And, a big part of that also is look at the monies that the cartels, are making off of the backs of these poor people. And the drugs that they're bringing in and the human trafficking that they're doing. So we're going to continue to work hard on the border, following the governor's lead to make sure that we do everything we can to stop the illegal flow of immigrants into our country. Go about, and I have a lot of really great Hispanic friends, that I've known for years. We go to church together, and it's really disheartening to them where they went through, becoming a U.S. citizen the right way, and to see, and they know who the people that are here illegally are, and they see them in the grocery store with 2 big old carts of food with a SNAP card that the federal government gave them. And the poor person that came the right way, became an American citizen, they came by half of one basket with their little pay, yet here's someone that came across the wrong way and they got 2 baskets full. It's the real world we see every day.
Let's talk about education. Another big
Go
topic
ahead.
for voters this election. I want to specifically ask you about school vouchers. To my understanding, you voiced concern for them in the past. Where do you currently stand?
I didn't voice concern, I voted against them.
You voted against them.
Right.
Where has that position changed at all, or is that still your same position?
My position in when I voted against school vouchers was primarily about a number of things. One, and the biggest thing is, how do we plan to pay for it? Okay? And there was no clear messaging, from the powers to be in Austin as to the concept might sound okay, but how do you pay for it? The other thing was when it comes to private schools, if we're going to send money with a kid to a private school, the private school has to follow the same the same things that a public school has to in terms of accountability, transparency, STAR testing, and there's a reason why we have private schools in this region, because they don't want that. They don't want to be part of that. And I didn't have one private school that contacted me while I was voting against vouchers, ESA, choice, whatever you want to call it, that said, hey, look, we really would like to have that money. They don't want it because they don't want to. The reason they're private schools is because they don't want to be part of the state public education system.
Governor Abbott feels he has the votes to pass school vouchers in the upcoming legislative session. If they were to pass, what's the next step for you?
Well, I mean, hey, I mentioned to you we're having a pub ed town hall. And the purpose for that is I feel like there's potentially going to be some bill that passes. The intention of the town hall is to say, hey, look, what are things that we can do? How do we write the bill in such a way that it doesn't hurt nor penalize our really great rural public schools? That's the problem. This whole school choice thing started, and I agree, parents being able to, have the choice of where they think their kids should go in order to get the best education. It may be because they have dyslexia or autism or things such as that, learning disabilities. That's what we should be focused on. But what we have to be careful of is that we have things in place to protect our great rural schools. This all started because of like Houston ISD, Austin ISD, the major cities. They don't have the quality of pub ed that we have in rural Texas. So we all have to get thrown into the same net with them to fix a problem that isn't a problem to the extent that it is in those metropolitan areas. So we're going to look for ways to, if there's the will of the House to pass a bill, I'm going to continue to work hard with Chairman Buckley and other members to make sure that we minimize the level of pain that we put on our public schools. We're 43rd in funding of our schools now. We're state of Texas, 8th largest economy in the world. Why do we so underfund our public schools? Why do our teachers make so little? The average pay in this district of a 15-year teacher is $52,000 a year. When we have truck drivers in the oil and gas business making $100,000 a year, and we're asking, these people, these great teachers to go in and really have to put up with a lot of red tape, and, all kids aren't great. You got some tough kiddos out there, so it's a shame that we ask them to almost babysit our children, yet we don't compensate them properly. So, and we have more work to do with our retired teachers. So we have a lot of work to do. This isn't a cookie cutter deal, and I'm proud of the fact that I've been there long enough and been in the business of trying to find ways to improve situations, make it a better bill for everybody, and I feel like we'll be able to do that.
Last legislative session, there was a bill that would have mandated the 10 Commandments be placed in every classroom. Mm-hmm. That did not pass, but it did pass in your home state of Louisiana.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what role, if any, should religion play in public education?
Let me ask you a question. Every dollar bill you pick up, what does it say? In God we trust. What's wrong with allowing, if a school wants to place the 10 Commandments up, what's wrong with that? Whether that bill comes up again or not, I'd support it, because I believe that, we should always be paying, close attention to our faith and to our, what got us here. And we have the vitriol that's in this country right now. We need to go back to understanding what the good Lord had in mind for us when we became a country, and I want to make sure we do that.
So religion should play some role in
I think religion has always played. Look at the Constitution. Look how it was written. Nobody can, if they've taken civics or anything else, can sit here and say that religion didn't have a huge part in how the country was formed and how the Constitution was written. And that may upset some people, and I get it. I'm proud of my faith. I'm a cradle Catholic, and I'm proud of my faith, just as my great Baptist buddies, Church of Christ, and I have lots of friends that are Jewish, and we all can live together, and no one should be denied their right to their religion.
It's my understanding that you've also called for removal of certain books from school libraries. Mm-hmm. Are there any specifically that come to your mind?
No, and that's more of a policy and a process problem. So what I learned throughout that whole thing, I think it was HB 900, if I remember the bill number. But what happened was kids were coming home with these books, and unknowing to the parent looked at it, oh my God. And what happens is when a school district, when a public library goes to these wholesale book distributors and buys books A, book B, book C, et cetera, they make them a deal, right? They give them a deal on a package of books. And I think what we found was happening was that when they were ordering their books, they didn't look real closely at what the books were, what the titles were. They did the review of the book to make sure it was proper for the age group they were trying to service. So I think a lot of, in particular, the public school libraries shared with me that, hey, we didn't know those books were in there. I mean, they came as we got 10 cases of book in from such and such book distributor. And by the way, I used to drive a big delivery truck when I was a senior at LSU for the Louisiana Textbook Depository. Okay, so, you know, it was a good job. But anyway, a lot of times books came in that the librarians and the people doing the ordering had no clue they were getting in. So I think a lot what the bill is about is to go back and clean that up and put better processes in place.
I'm getting down to the last few questions here.
Okay.
One thing I do want to ask you is about a report that was recently on KHOU 11.
Oh, you're talking about the biggest liberal news media station in all of the Houston, Texas area? That one?
Oh,
man, yeah. That for all of my conservative friends, maybe you should go back and look at exactly what this organization is about, and I think you'll have a little different story about their reporting.
I do want to ask you a question about it and give you a chance to respond.
Sure.
Though. The report says that you flew to Longview to attend your grandson's graduation last May of 2023. Did you use campaign funds to pay for that person?
Let me answer your question this way. First of all, before we got on a state-owned plane, I have the most conservative chief of staff. She's a Georgetown Juris Doctorate graduate, very conservative. We went to the laws, and if you go back and look at the laws regarding the use of state property, you'll find exactly how it has to happen. We also went to the Ethics Commission and clarified with them what we could do, what we couldn't do. So we used the plane, we paid for the plane, let me back up. We used the plane to come to a community event because my grandson was in that graduating class. That was a community event which the law is clear about that can be used for that, okay? It'd be just like if I come home to attend an Eagle Scout ceremony. Oh, and one of my grandchildren happened to be there. Then that's a community event. When it comes to using my campaign fund, that's not taxpayer dollars. That's my campaign funds, and it is totally legal to use those.
So you did use campaign
Absolutely,
funds.
totally legal.
To fly during that specific trip, you did use campaign
Absolutely.
funds. You did.
And the other part of the what the rules say is that you can't use that asset to go raise funds. It does not say you can't use campaign funds to pay for it. You cannot go raise campaign funds.
In the Texas Election Code, section 253.035, it says that there are restrictions on a person who accepts a political contribution as a candidate or office holder may not convert the contribution to personal use.
If I use that plane to go and raise campaign funds that I then turn around and use it, then no. In this case, I used funds I had. I didn't go to Longview to it was Union Grove, by the way, a Union Grove graduation ceremony to raise campaign funds. And another thing about that is, go back and look at the text. You have members that utilize their campaign funds to buy clothes. You have them use it to do a number of other things, okay? So the Ethics Commission was, we were in contact with them before we used the plane. They made it very clear that what we were doing was perfectly, ethically acceptable based on their codes, as well as legally. Now let me throw something else by that. I'm working on having an open records issued to TxDOT regarding every legislator that's ever used one of those planes over the last 4 sessions.
The
Because
TxDOT planes.
Yes, and there's helicopters and there's other things. Because what I understand coming from TxDOT is that there are much higher up members of the legislature that sit in statewide elected office that have used that plane more so than anybody else combined, okay? They happen to live in Houston. They happen to be pretty close to this news media. So I think, this is purely a situation where they went after the sitting speaker because he was the major story about this, okay? He was the major story. So we're very comfortable and confident in the way we executed. We got legal interpretation and direction before, as well as what we got from the Texas Ethics Commission and what TxDOT explained to us. So I'm very good with that.
I would like to give you a chance to respond to what your challenger in this race, Marlena Cooper, said. She said in part, she feels that you did violate election code and have prioritized, quote, and I'll quote this from her statement, personal interests over the values of voters, personal interests over the voters in this district. What's your response to that?
Well, I think what that shows is Ms. Cooper's lack of experience and understanding of the law, and I think had she would have done herself a favor, I think, and I get that she's not ever been in an elected office. She's running. I'm not even sure what her campaign's about, but if she would have taken the time and the due diligence to do what I did before I used a plane, she probably would have never made that little statement. It shows her lack of experience, and look, if that's the best she's got against me, I'll defend that every day.
We've talked about a lot over the course of this conversation, and election day is coming up very quickly. It feels like it'll be here tomorrow. What would be your closing argument to voters as they go to the polls?
Well, I think my closing argument's going to be my opening argument. Look at my record. I have a record. I think we are a very conservative area. 75% of our region is conservative Republican, and they are sending me back 5 times. So I think that speaks loudly about my record and my ethics for sure, my values when it comes to helping other people. I think when I was the mayor for 10 years, I still have people till this day calling me Mayor Dean, because they know the work we did to improve the quality of their life, and I will continue to do that as long as the good Lord gives me the opportunity to serve.